All right, let's check out the vibes over at Fox News, where they're having a hard time spinning this blue wave. It's no secret that the election night coverage was brutal for any MAGA host on Fox who had to sit there on live TV and watch as the MAGA candidates got blown out by Democrat after Democrat after Democrat. They lost governor races, they lost a mayor race, and really important local elections in states like Georgia or Virginia, and now, less than 24 hours later, basically every Republican on TV is engaging in a surface-level post-mortem. What I mean by that is they're trying to do a post-mortem of what went wrong, which that in and of itself isn't bad. We did a lot of post-mortems. We did a lot of, thinking about what went wrong, and we still are doing that thinking every single day. But the way they're desperately trying to spin on air, this isn't a legitimate analysis of what happened last night. This is, number one, propaganda, just to call it what it is. Number two, lies. And number three, spinning. They are trying to spin this loss in any way they can, and they're having trouble. Even Trey Gowdy over at Fox News started off his segment by saying, listen, I can't sugarcoat this. Republicans had a bad night. He was one of the only Fox hosts that is just telling it like it is. And then he starts to call out some of the losses that they took. And then he even calls out MAGA Representative Nancy Mace, not by name, but he talks about her crazy airport incidents. And it seems as if he's telling the Republican Party to just get your shit together. He's essentially saying, in my opinion, he's like, listen, we haven't been focused on affordability. We've actually been screwing Americans over while Nancy Mace is throwing tantrums while we're on day 35 of a government shutdown where SNAP benefits are being stripped away and healthcare prices are going to skyrocket. So yeah, I essentially read this as him saying, Republicans got smacked and they have to get their shit together. Let's take a listen to this clip right here of Trey Gowdy.
I think what he was getting at was if you would talk more about the success we've had, we would not have had a bad night last night. I mean, there's no way to put a sugarcoat on what happened last night. I mean, Glenn Youngkin, that flip, New Jersey wasn't close. New York, I mean, those of us in South Carolina really didn't follow that race, and we're not surprised at it, but it does impact y'all. I think what the president's saying is, look, y'all got to talk more aggressively and persuasively about the success we have had and do not get distracted. I mean, you look at the headlines recently, Sandra, and you got an apoplectic congresswoman who's having a psychotic episode in Charleston at an airport. You've got this debate over white nationalism. I think Trump is saying, Republicans, quit talking about all of that. Start talking about the best 10 months any president has ever had in our history, and maybe we...
By what indicator? By what indicator? Prices have gone up over the past 10 months. Consumer sentiment has gone down because people are struggling. Tariffs have cooked us. We've had deportations with no due process, while legal immigration is being curbed to such an extent that economies are struggling, like in Las Vegas, for example. It's like empty in Las Vegas because there's no tourism. There's nothing going on because people don't want to come over here. So what do you mean the most successful 10 months ever? If you guys want to talk about that more, I'm happy. But lately, Republicans' problems have been a lot of problems. But he actually does kind of point it out. They talk about these crazy stories. For example, I've heard Republicans talk more about Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk than I have about actual legitimate on-the-ground problems. I've heard Republicans over the past 2 months say Erica Kirk's name probably about 2,000 times more than I've heard them talk about child tax credits, just to throw something out there. In this clip right here, Kayleigh McEnany and Brian Kilmeade agree with each other that they hope Zohran Mamdani fails. They hope his mayorship is a fail. Just read between the lines there. They're in New York right now. They're filming this in New York. I presume that's where their studio is. They must be in New York right now. They want the mayor to fail? They want the city to crumble? Why?
Against it.
But a lot of Jews voted for him. And a lot of Jews voted for him.
And that breaks my heart.
New Yorkers aren't dumb. They got to elect who they wanted to lead them. And if he fails, they will elect someone else.
He will fail. Socialism failed in the Soviet Union. It'll fail in New York City.
Well, we should all be rooting for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should all be rooting for the city to succeed.
Socialism's not going to succeed in New York if you wanted to.
Everyone should be rooting for the city to succeed. Zohran's vision for New York isn't even to turn it into this socialist utopia. Zohran calls himself a democratic socialist, which means that he wants to use democratic means, like elections, to then get into power in a democratic way and then help make sure wealth is redistributed or people at the bottom have social safety nets. New York is not going to be turned into some socialist like icon city. It's not going to turn into that. It's not going to turn into that. That's not even Zohran's plan. His plan is just integrate free buses and help make sure that things are more affordable. not to not to uproot the entire city. Let's continue by watching Fox News then air a minute clip of Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, blasting Republicans for stripping SNAP away, for closing the government. Now, here's how I read this. Donald Trump earlier this morning in a closed-door meeting got really pissed off at Republicans because, number one, they lost. Number two, he says the government shutdown is not going their way. He admitted, Trump conceded in this closed-door meeting that, this is not looking good for Republicans, this government shutdown. So, Fox News, I think sometimes they try to air things so that they place pressure on either Trump or the admin. So right here, I think they're just playing some Democrats, speaking about the actual truth to see if Donald Trump can cave on this government shutdown, because he is close. He said earlier today in a closed-door meeting that this is not going well for Republicans. Let's watch this clip of Andy Beshear explaining the stakes.
We must also remember the challenges that our families are facing due to a lack of SNAP benefits brought on by the Trump administration. This is a program that was under attack early by the president following the big, ugly bill. That's why in June I wrote a letter to Kentucky's congressional delegation urging them to consider the harmful impacts of this legislation and how it would hit our people, because SNAP is crucial for Kentucky. In our Commonwealth, over 600,000 Kentuckians rely on SNAP. That's 1 of 8 of our people, many of which are kids. These families need this support to avoid going hungry. But on October 1st, the federal shutdown began, and this now, today, marks the longest shutdown in the history of our country. From the start of the shutdown, the president made it clear that this program would be at risk. In fact, the Trump administration stopped the federal government from paying out SNAP benefits for November and also stopped states from flowing state funds through SNAP to pay out those benefits. And that's despite the USDA's website saying that he could fund SNAP benefits even in a shutdown. Americans should never be a negotiating tool.
Donald Trump is literally, quite legitimately, withholding food from 40 plus million Americans because he views it as a negotiating tool, as Governor Beshear points out. He views it as some sick, twisted form of leverage, essentially saying, if I hold a gun to the American people's heads, I'm hoping that Democrats will cave and save the American people. Like, dude, you're not the good guy here. You're clearly the bad guy here. Let's continue with then Speaker of the House Mike Johnson saying that Zohran Mamdani is an anti-Semite. I want to debunk this right after.
And his socialist agenda. Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in the Senate and the highest-ranking Jewish leader in America, flirted with endorsing Mamdani all the way to the bitter end. Never mind the fact that Zohran has embraced anti-Semitic rhetoric and promised to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel if
He's embraced anti-Semitic rhetoric? Embraced? Really? The one controversy that he had was about the term globalize the intifada, and that's because there are different interpretations based on different people. A lot of Jewish people rightfully think that this phrase, and this is what the phrase means, it means an intifada, violence against Jewish people. But the phrase has been essentially reappropriated by protesters who then say it means Palestinian peace, and that is what Zohran refused to condemn. The second part, he said, I'm not going to condemn people who call for Palestinian peace, but then he said, I don't think this phrase is something we should use. Even today, on Zohran's first day as mayor-elect of New York City, he decided to come out with moral clarity and strongly condemn anti-Semitism. Isaac posted on Twitter, my community's yeshiva, which is a Jewish day school in Brooklyn, where I taught years ago, and it had a swastika written on one window, then a swastika written on a pole. Zohran Mamdani says this is a disgusting and heartbreaking act of anti-Semitism, and it has no place in our beautiful city. As mayor, I will always stand steadfast with our Jewish neighbors to root the scourge of anti-Semitism out of our city. And this got 132,000 likes, 7 million views. This is Zohran giving some moral clarity. He's given a lot of moral clarity. I'm not saying he hasn't, but this is Zohran using day one. This might be the first tweet he made as mayor-elect, other than a thank you post. And he uses it to provide moral clarity about anti-Semitism, which is great, and which totally debunks whatever weak BS Mike Johnson was saying. Zohran literally just said a few months ago that he discourages the use of the phrase globalize the intifada. Zohran is not somebody who is trying to stir up hatred. He's a nice, friendly guy. What about this clip of Sean Hannity? essentially crying when the Zohran news came out. There are tears in his eyes, and it seems like he's kind of just overwhelmed. He's kind of laughing at some text, but also it seems like he's a little bit overwhelmed at this moment. I first saw a tweet. It said, "Everybody, turn on Fox News. They're effing crying over Zohran winning." So this is the clip right here. Let's take a look.
Joining me now from the free state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, my governor. Okay, I'm literally in tears. I'm having a hard time keeping a straight face, only for this reason. I have really funny friends, and my funny friends are sending me, one is a meme of the Statue of Liberty, you know, sitting down, smoking a cigarette. F it, I'm going to move to Florida. The other one has a picture of Mamdani, and it says, Realtor of the Year in the state of Florida. It's cracking me up.
I don't know what this incomprehensible slop that he just said is. I know what he's saying. He's saying that his friends are sending him memes. But is this dude okay? At some point in the commercial break, he started having like a laugh attack. Did he come to set stoned or something like that? Why is he laughing so hard? And why is he so overwhelmed with multiple different emotions at once? You can literally see the tears in his eyes right here. But I'm gonna leave it there. If you appreciate the videos that we make on this channel, if you wanna see more, double check to make sure you're subscribed below. I will see you all in the next one, and peace out.